Yeah.
Um, we're back. Well, George, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Season 2, episode 1. How do we feel? Let's just get a quick check-in. How are you feeling?
I'm really excited. I feel like I'll just get to talk to you more, and that's fun. Ever since I moved, we haven't been able to hang out as much.
Yeah, little
So
does anybody
this
listening know that this is just our excuse to hang out more often.
right? And hear ourselves talk, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to doing that more. Like even as we've been starting up season 2, just talking about it more with you has been a lot of fun. So I'm just looking forward to doing that more.
I'm excited for everybody to hear what we've been theory crafting for this season, because this season obviously looks a little different. We're both in different places and recording separately. So, but we've done some theory crafting. So
Yes, we have.
Let's go and hop into it, George. What's today's episode about?
Today's episode for season 2, episode 1 is about change.
All right.
So let's jump in.
Let's get in.
All right.
Every living organism to ever exist is in an active state of change. It's a prerequisite for living. It's movement, energy. A flower starts as a seed which breaks and opens itself up to becoming something new. That new thing becomes new again and again and again until it's transformed once more by being eaten, transforming the animal then into something bigger, stronger. This relationship exists among all living things. It cannot be good and it cannot be bad. It can only be. Even in growth, even in death, all things exist only as it is, in their current state of refusing to be in their current state. We all exist here, in a never stagnant state of change. Together we celebrate it, we honor it, and we grieve it. George, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for sharing that monologue. Where did that come from? What spurred you on to write that monologue?
I think about change a lot. I think, especially as of late, my life has been shifting and changing. I got new earrings, so that's been a really big life-altering change that I've experienced, and I've been thinking about that a lot. I don't know. I think a lot about the state of things and the state of life and how connected we are to a seed and the grass and trees, and how I'm no different. I just am able to think about myself. But a tree does the exact same things as me, just in its own way. It just, as far as we know, doesn't think about itself doing those things. So I think there are times where I'm resistant to change, and times where I am really forcing change. And I think both of those are futile, because no matter what happens, change is going to be. And I can't make it happen, and I can't stop it from happening. So I can only let go of trying. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Mm-hmm. So what have you noticed after this earrings change? What's been different?
Currently my ear is infected, which is why I can't put my headphone on top of the earring because it hurts. I woke up and my ear was stuck to my pillowcase because it had been leaking all night. So that's big. That's been a big fun change for me.
Yeah, thanks for playing injured today.
Yeah, this is my flu game. This is my Michael Jordan flu game. Yeah. Yeah, I think obviously, and maybe it's not obvious, the earrings are representing something bigger that has changed in my life. I am currently at a different recording studio, because this recording studio is the office in a new house of mine, because Maddie and I no longer live together, implying that we no longer are together. Maddie and I got divorced within the last year, and that was a big change. That was a very big change. Just to be honest with any listeners, I'm probably not going to talk about that much. I'm going to talk about the effects of that and the effects of change on me and what my new life looks like and is starting to look like. But I love Maddie a lot, and I have only good things to say about her still. So Unfortunately, this is not a drama podcast, and you will be not getting the juicy drama. You will only be getting love and peace, and me talking about ear goop and the state of the world and me in it. So, but that is change. That is why I wanted to talk about change today on the first episode, because everything looks different. And George, a lot of your change recently is the reason all of that looks different. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you. You got a mustache.
I have a mustache. So I moved from Wichita, Kansas to Portland, Oregon about a year ago, coming up on a year. It's been a life-changing event, obviously. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's crazy living here. People ask me, like when I tell them I'm from Kansas, they're like, "Oh, do you have family here in Oregon?" And I'm like, "No, all of my family is in Kansas, all of them." And that's right after I tell them I'm one of 12 kids. So, not a single sibling, not any cousins, aunts, uncles, no family lives here. And that's normally what draws people to a place when they move, which is still a lot of my current scenario because my girlfriend lives here. Abby lives here. Is what, pulled me here. But yeah, so that's kind of what the last year has looked like for me, being in a totally new place. I would love to get into that more.
Yeah. It is funny. I said the mustache thing and realized we both kind of have a outward representation of an internal change. I got my ears pierced. You got a mustache, just to show the audience that we are different. Things are different now, and you better expect something different. When this change happened for me, for some reason, it felt like I wanted to shed like a season of that. Like, I'm entering into a new season now. Everything is different. Like, I was actually just thinking this today. All of the art I used to have or be interested in was very like blue and like light green and like soft, cool colors. And now, as soon as I moved into this place, I was like, I'm doing warm colors. I'm like orange, green, like forest greens. I'm doing rustic. I'm doing wood, like feelings. I like wanted to shift from an old to a new, almost to like, I don't know, let myself feel like different. Let myself feel like this is different. I am actively different. Was there anything like that for you where you moved and you're like, all right, time to be different. I'm going to change this about my style or change this about my things I'm interested in. Tell me about that experience for you.
So what first comes to mind is moving into the new apartment that I had here. In my apartment that I had in Wichita, it was a small studio, and interior decoration is probably on the bottom of my list of skills. And so I didn't put a lot of effort into decorating or a lot of money into buying good furniture. So it was just like not something that I prioritized. It was like my comfort and how my like home made me feel. And so moving here, that became much more of an emphasis, was how my apartment felt, and the furniture that I bought. So what that's looked like is buying a nice rug for my living room, and buying a nice couch, and buying a nice bed, buying my cat expensive cat trees. And that's been a lot of fun, and made me helped me identify with the place that I live a lot more. So that was a big shift for me, moving here and just like having my own place. I've had my own place, but I never invested in it. Mm-hmm. Investing in it has been a lot of fun.
Great. Does it feel like obviously a big change like that, there's a natural delineation between the before times and the after times, but what are some things that you did take from the after times into your new times, and what are some things that you like let go of?
I think something about the before and after. So like before living in Wichita, living, where I was raised my entire life and where my entire community was, there's a lot of my life that is handed to me or that I take for granted or is, yeah, just really like comfortable. So I might have friendships or even smaller things like, restaurants that I'm familiar with, or like the YMCA that's, just across the street, or, just like all these little aspects of my life that I've never known a life that wasn't those things. And I didn't choose them or put it, lay the groundwork to make those things a part of my life. So that's kind of the before. And then now living here, like, you're starting with a blank slate. So everything that I want to make a part of my life, I choose and have to work for. So it makes all of those different pieces of my life that much more meaningful.
Yeah, you're like an active participant in all of the things that you incorporate into your life because they don't like fall into your lap.
Right, right. So yeah, they become a lot more meaningful, and I identify with them a lot more, and I, foster whatever that is and take care of it. And yeah, so that's been, probably the biggest shift for me. Just moving to a place where I've had a blank slate is how much how much my life here is meaningful, because I've had to work for it. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, yeah, I've like watched you from afar. I mean, obviously we talk a lot, and this isn't like my first time seeing your place, but I have been like really proud of you and really impressed with how much care you've taken to create that life for you. And even with the rug, or even with like, I came over there and you like made me food, and with the food that you bought and the way you were making, it was just so like, yeah, it felt adult. Like you had a system, you had a life, you built something of your own. I don't know. I was just really impressed with. I don't even know if that makes sense. It sounds like almost like I'm making fun of you, but like it just was so interesting to see all of the individual things. You're like, oh, I found this, and I found this, and this is me, and this is me. Yeah, it all seemed really intentional and very George, and I loved being a part of it. I loved seeing it when I came to visit you.
Yeah, it's a sharp contrast from the Sundance apartment where, we just get Pizza Hut and play video games that we've been playing for a decade.
Right, exactly. That because our experience, I think that's probably a lot of it is like this sharp change. Like the before times were a lot more based in nostalgia. At least I that's how I see them. It's like the before times were very nostalgic, and like, yeah, I would come over there and we would do things that would give us comfort that we'd been doing since we were 13. And now it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just think about like what's happening now and in the future so much more often than I think about what used to happen and the way things used to be. So yeah, that's a really funny point. Like the way we hung out when I came over there in Portland, it was so much different than how when I used to come over to your house in Wichita, where we would just do the same shit over and over and over, which was great. Right. It's what we wanted to do. That wasn't a bad thing, but we've changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still had time when you were in Portland to play FIFA and play street football.
We made sure of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then just last point on that is I forgot to mention also just like the friendships and relationships I've made here. Like it's the same thing. Like any friend that I've made, it feels that much more meaningful because
I've earned it.
Yeah, I had to lay the groundwork for that. So for you, I want to reflect that question back to you.
Yeah.
What is your kind of before and after looking like?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is the same as what you said. Like I'm much more active in my life because I'm the only one watching my life. Like before, I had a wife who was watching me and was helping me, and I was helping her and watching her. But, we made decisions together, and we made food together, and we made breakfast together, and we bought groceries together. And it was like, everything was kind of like I was making sort of like a half decision, which was good. Like it was comfortable and fine, and that's not like a bad thing that I'm not doing anymore. It's just the nature of it. And now every single decision I make comes only from me. My life is completely revolves around how I want a decision to be made, which is kind of overwhelming sometimes. I get like paralyzed sometimes by choice, where it's like, I don't know, do I just buy chicken again? Am I just gonna keep eating chicken? Okay, maybe this time I'll do ground beef. What am I gonna do with? I guess I'll do taco. Am I doing tacos? Like, there's nobody around me to be like, no, let's do this time. And I'm like, thank God, like, thank you, let's do that. Or like, what art do I buy? What color scheme do I choose for this? What do I do today? It's Monday. I have nothing to do. I don't know. There's no one to tell me what to do. I just have to make that shit up as I go. So that's been a huge change where it's like, I'm proud of myself that I found it in me to decide those things and to say like, I'm going to do this day and I'm going to do this day. Or like, I am capable of making decisions for myself. I don't need a second person to tell me what's correct. But that's still overwhelming sometimes. I think there's like a high and low to that. Like the high is I'm proud of myself and I feel like a lot more, I understand myself more because I understand why I'm making decisions, or at least I've made a decision whether or not I understand why, but it was my decision. So it feels like me. But the low of it is like, that's kind of lonely. That's a lonely way to make decisions. I'm looking inward a lot, which I think can be healthy and sometimes can be a little bit self-centered. And I can tend towards being self-centered, which is like fine. I'm not like scared that I'm going to become a narcissist, but it's something that I think about where I wonder how long I can do this before I become someone who's so interested in himself he isn't capable of being interested in someone else. But I don't know. I'm sure all of those emotions that I have are pretty typical of someone who gets out of a 14-year relationship, where you're just like, I don't know what the rules are for functioning alone as a 28-year-old person. I don't. Who tells you what's correct and what's not? So I go to my therapist a lot, and she, like a good therapist, is like, I can't tell you what's right. You just got to do it. I don't think anyone can tell you what's right. But that is the least satisfying answer I could get in any scenario, is for somebody to be like, what do you think is right? I'm like, I've been thinking about myself forever. I don't know what. I don't know what to do. So I don't know. Yeah, I think that's been the biggest change, and the biggest like thought, and the biggest thing I'm proud of myself for is making decisions because there's no one else to make it. So it's mine. It's my decision to decide what to eat. It's my decision to buy that artwork. It's my decision to, buy this subscription service. I don't know if I can afford it. I guess I'll find out if I can afford it, but there's no one else looking at my finances to tell me whether I can afford it or not.
Right.
You had some thoughts, at least that you sent me, about change going into today. What were some of those? Do you want to get into?
All right. Yeah, it's some prompts to help stimulate this conversation.
Love a little bit of stimulation.
That you do. Let's try to reel it in a bit.
Fair.
All right. So there's 4 prompts, and I'm just gonna read them, and then whatever sticks out to you, let's jump on it and go there.
Okay, so you're going to read all 4 prompts, and I got to choose one of the 4 prompts? I have to make a choice? Okay.
You have to make a choice. But it's a multiple choice.
Okay, multiple choice. I like this.
You have good odds. All right, so I'm just going to read them. Here we go. Change allows you to try new things and learn from your mistakes. That's 1. Change can help you grow as a person. Change allows you to see what's important to you. Change can make you more productive. I should also mention I got this from a website about how change can help your mental health. So I found that on the internet.
Okay. I like the first one best. I think that was my favorite.
Change allows you to try new things
I'm
and learn from
interested
your mistakes.
in the idea of change helping your mental health. Because, yeah, a lot of what I talked about, like in the monologue, was about like how it's natural and you can't reject it and like it's the state of things. And then, yeah, I've kind of just been talking about this one change, but also there's like a natural constant state of change that we're in. So I'm interested in just like your take on the mental health of it all anyways. But yeah, let's first talk about the first one, which was...
Change allows you to try new things and learn from your mistakes.
Ooh, I love the idea of learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about when you're talking about, like, how do you know what's correct when you're making a decision? I think that's something that, I've been really been pushed in moving here, because it's hard not to get analysis paralysis about a lot of decisions like that. And the only way I feel like to get around that is to allow yourself to make mistakes, so that you can, learn from it, or else you'll get caught in that, like, what that decisions process of like what is correct and what isn't. And the only way to figure that out is to make a decision and then react accordingly to like if it's works for you or doesn't.
Right.
So that's kind of where my brain goes with this.
Yeah. I think, what are we, 26 minutes in, and Jack is going to stay. Growing up, but growing up, rigidity was very important. Like everything was around like the rigid, like right and wrong, good and bad. So I think that kind of like fear of being wrong, I think stems from that. It stems from that for me, where it's like in all things there's a correct choice. There's a correctness to being, and what is the correct way to be and what is an incorrect way to be. So a lot of my analysis paralysis, it's not as easy as like, is choosing the wrong thing going to hurt me? It's like, is choosing the wrong thing going to make me a bad person? Like, and I obviously am overthinking that, and like that is that conclusion to draw from that is silly. But there are times where I'm like, maybe I really can't afford this thing, and if I choose to buy it and can't afford it, I'm really messed up. I'm a really bad person. I am so bad at this. There's like a shame spiral in that, because I've grown up believing, or I should say my body, because like my head doesn't believe this for what it's worth. Like my head does not believe that if I choose chicken over ground beef and it turns out wrong, I'm bad. But like there's something in my system that believes it's not allowed to make mistakes. There's something in my system that believes that if I run out of money, or if I do this thing and do not get the good outcome, it's because I was wrong and whatever, and should have known better and chose actively to do wrong. I guess I wonder also if you have a relationship similar to making mistakes as I do. I mean, for me that comes up a lot, even like in basketball. You know, if you make the wrong pass, there's a shame about that. Or like, I'm talking about money a lot because I'm thinking about money a lot, just like a single income now. Or like it feels like there is a right and wrong ultimately, and in reality there is not ever a right and wrong. There are only two choices. But yeah, do you get that feeling of shame when you make a decision and it goes poorly? Does that reflect poorly on your self-image?
Yeah. So when I was deciding to move here to Portland, I was definitely in that analysis paralysis phase. Especially because...
Sorry, can you explain analysis paralysis? I mean, I think I kind of did feeling paralyzed, but you say analysis paralysis as if that's like a thing people talk about, and I've never heard it talked about like that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so I don't know the academic definition, but how I define it is there's so many options to choose from that it's hard to know what you actually want, or what option you should choose. So you get paralyzed by the analysis, like analysis paralysis. There's so many options and so much research you could do that you get paralyzed because you want to make the best decision.
So it's like Netflix, like when you're watching a Netflix show or you're looking for a show to watch on Netflix and you just like scroll
Yeah.
and scroll and can't find the right one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it happen and that happens to me all the time. My friend Andrew and I always the best example of this was we were in a Walmart aisle preparing for one of our friends' birthday parties where it was going to be a Nerf gun battle. And we were in the Nerf aisle, and I would pick up a gun and be like, yeah, this is the one. And then like as we were walking out of the aisle, be like, that other one has more ammo in the mag, and I'm gonna have to reload more if I use this one. But the bullets are easier to load, and yeah. So I kept going back and forth, and it was really the decision between, do I want to buy like a $20 gun for this one birthday party, or do I want to buy like the one that I think is cooler that's like $50, but I'm just never gonna use these Nerf guns ever again. And that was literally what was going on in my head, was pay more money for the better gun that will make it more fun, or pay less money and be more efficient.
And it feels like there's a right answer, that if you do
There
enough
is.
math, you will find the right answer.
Yes, how do I optimize the joy that my money will give me?
Yeah, if one joy is equal to 50 cents, but with this gun, one joy is worth 89 cents.
And my KD ratio is going to be 1.7 if I use this shotgun.
Yeah.
So we refer to that all the time, and we just call it like a Nerf aisle moment.
A Nerf aisle moment.
Yeah, when you're in an analysis paralysis situation. So all that to say, that's an example of that for me. But when I was deciding to move, there were a lot of hard decisions like that, where there was a lot to choose from, and there wasn't a best option. So, for example, like when to move. Like I knew I wanted to move, but do I want to do that in 6 months? Do I want to do that in a year? Do I want to do that in 3 years? What's the timetable? The job I currently have, do I want to work here longer? Do I want to end it soon? All my friendships and family, like, do I want to spend more time with them and soak it up? Or do I want to, am I content with, being long distance and maintaining those relationships? And then as far as like Portland, like researching what apartments and,
Right.
what area of Portland do I want to live in? And is it going to be like basketball leagues I can join? And just like all this research that I can do that should inform me on what the best decision is, was kind of making me paralyzed. Especially when we have like Google at our fingertips. Like a part of me is always like, I should never go into any decision unprepared, because I
Right.
have Google. Like there's just so many resources out there for me to like, inform the decisions that I make. So, yeah, there was a lot of like paralysis I was getting about that, and nervousness, because there were a lot of decisions I was starting to make, and I knew that they weren't always the best. And so that was stressing me out.
What do you mean? What data told you that the decisions you were making weren't the best?
Well, for example, 2 months before I actually moved, I didn't have a job or a place to live yet. And those two things were stressing me out. I was like, I don't have two of the main things you need in order to like live somewhere sustainably. But I had set that deadline of like, I want to move by this point. And obviously I could push that back, but I was like, then I'm just going to keep pushing it back. I have to keep myself accountable. So that was really stressing me out about 2 months before. And really what helped is I reached out to you and Teddy, and I got to just like, we just went to Teddy's house, and I was just like, I'm stressed the fuck out. And I got to just kind of like sob and wallow in the stress and anxiety about it. And really what you guys, what was most supportive from you guys was helping me believe that I have the capability to react to a poor decision and recover.
Yeah.
So that was really just like believing in my ability to adapt.
Has that, excuse me, has that proven true?
Yes.
That you do
Yes,
have the
it
capability
has.
to react?
Yeah, it really has. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a good example.
Not a
But
good example of a major failure that you bounce back from. Honestly, I
yeah, I
mean,
kind of just stopped failing once I moved here, really.
I
Now
mean,
that I think about it.
you say that, but like, you did do all that analysis before you moved, but also you were always capable. Like, you were always capable of it. You were always capable of finding the right
Right.
job. You were always capable of finding the place. And you told me this around the time I got divorced, where I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna afford like eating all that. Like, I eat so much food and it's expensive. And you're like, I don't know. You just kind of figure it out. Like, if you need money for a week, you just eat PB and J. Like, you kind of just know.
Yeah.
You know that you can't do anything else but make it through, and you'll figure it out. And that was, I don't
Yeah.
know. I remember that PB and J thing all the time when I'm out like buying food for myself, where it's like, right, but if I totally run out of money, I know I can still make it. I know I
Yeah.
still have the capability and I know how to make food for myself that doesn't cost a lot of money if I need to. And I don't know. That was really helpful for me to hear.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I talked about it at the beginning here too, is how we exist in a constant state of change. Like, you and I talked for a little bit about one big change, like a big life change that we made. That's a little more like black and white. Like, we were a thing and now we're a different thing. But I'm interested, number one, if you believe we're in a constant state of change, what that looks like for you. And let me rewind a little bit, because in the monologue, I talked about how, like, a tree starts as a seed, and every day, every moment, every millisecond, that changes a little bit to create this bigger thing. That's all like really physical change. I obviously, we're physical. We change every day because we have a new heartbeat every second or whatever. That's just a literal change. It moves, it's movement. But outside of the physical change that we see, like, obviously we grow, our hair gets gray. But what about like psychological or mental or even like philosophical changes? We've talked a lot last season about how we changed from Christian to a new sort of like agnostic, spiritual, rigid spirituality. That's a change. That's that philosophical change I'm talking about. But like, day to day, do you feel like you're changed? Do you feel like yesterday you were different than the person you are today? And then even on like a bigger scale, do you think people are capable of changing? I believe we can be a million billion different people in one lifetime, because we have a million billion different moments to exist in, to change, slightly in a minuscule way. But I think I'm kind of interested in kind of the philosophy of that, the philosophy of change, and the philosophy of bumping up against what we want, and like whether that's to push change or to fight against it. Sometimes change happens whether or not we want it to. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that, kind of playing a little tennis with that idea, going back and forth. So what are your thoughts?
Why do you think people are resistant to change?
I think people are resistant to change because of comfort, because currently where I am, where my life is, I may be happy with it. Or at least, if not happy, I'm familiar with it. And there is comfort in familiarity. There's safety in familiarity. So I think when people see change, it's like standing on a big rock that's like kind of teetering. And if you feel that move, if you feel that changing, that's frightening. I know that right now I'm on a rock and that's comfortable, but if that moves too much and the rock falls, I don't know what's going to happen next. That's how I see people who are resistant to change, is that they would rather know what's happening, because in this moment I do know what's happening, but in the next, if it changes, I won't know what that is. So I think that's what, in my opinion, that's where most people's resistance to change stems from.
Yeah, kind of a like loss of control
Right.
feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have that resistance? Would you say you err toward resistant to change or err toward embracing change and almost even encouraging change to happen?
I don't know. It sounds cheesy, but I just enjoy like growing so much. I think growing is when I feel most like proud of myself and most myself. So yeah, I just enjoy growing a lot. I like to look back on who I was and how I felt, and then look at myself now. So yeah, that just looks like just like different experiences that would make me more anxious than others.
Right. Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think I am the more resistant to change type or the more encouraging change to happen type?
I think you're. I think you are down for change. I think you like. I think you like change. I think a part of our growing up that I relate to, that a lot of our siblings probably feel, is that because our environment was so there were just a lot of kids. You were encouraged, or like behaviors that were encouraged were ones that emphasized adapting to your environment. So like if you're rigid about where you want to go to eat, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
Like you have to adapt to your environment, and that's what's going to be encouraged. So I think about that a lot for me, like in situations where I have to adapt, like that's kind of where I feel comfortable a lot of times, because I've done it for so long, and I like trust my ability to like get along with people in those scenarios, and kind of like manage people's emotions and how to communicate with them, and it's not always like healthy or whatever, but I think that's a like area where some of my strengths are highlighted. So yeah, I personally look for those situations where I have to adapt. So all that to say, kind of for you, I don't know if you relate to that too, where adapting is something that's emphasized in your life.
Yeah, I almost feel uncomfortable with stagnation. I think sometimes I was just telling a friend about this the other day. Like every single day of the week, I try to have something happening, because when I'm sitting still at home alone, I feel really
Restless.
anxious, restless. Yeah, like something needs to be happening. Something needs to be moving. I want to see people, and I think I'm working on it. I don't necessarily believe that's a healthy state for me to be in at all times. I ultimately would be a healthier person if I were comfortable alone and in silence and in rest.
But think about like our house growing up. Like there was
Right.
never a time you had the house to yourself. And
Yeah.
if it was like a celebration kind of, like you were like, wow, I had the house to myself. This is so cool. I'm going to do things I've never done before.
Right.
But when you live in a place and it's your own place, and like the default is that like lonely, like you have the house to yourself, it makes sense that you would not feel you're most comfortable in that, because that's not the way you've lived your life.
Well, and that's a really great point, because I went from that life, that household, to a household with somebody immediately, with someone who I loved and who was with me immediately. So even with her, and it wasn't as black and white, like a hectic house versus a silent house, but it was a house with someone in it at all times. And I loved it, and it was great, but it was, I didn't stretch the muscle very often of being alone and enjoying being alone, which I can only blame myself. That's obviously no one else's fault, but it just wasn't necessary. It wasn't needed of me. Nobody required it of me to spend time alone. And I'm learning a lot, and I'm saying this out loud a lot. I'm kind of experiencing a lot of the things now that a lot of people did between like 21 and 24, where they were alone a lot and they had to figure out how to be alone. They kind of found themselves. They found out what they're made of, kind of made some core decisions that created them as a person. And I did all of those things with somebody. So now I'm having to re-understand how to make those core decisions again at 28 and without somebody. So I don't think anything I'm saying or experiencing is all that like, I think everybody, if anything, it's ultra relatable, because I think everybody's experienced that moment where you're like, okay, I got to figure out what I'm going to do in this moment. But definitely I lean away from stagnation and lean toward changing things up. And like, even my friends group, my friend group it's kind of like a, this is stupid. How people say the Constitution is a living, breathing document? How like you're supposed to be able
brother.
Right. I forgot that you're a constitutionalist through and through.
Yeah. I was just reading it right before this, actually.
As any brave American should.
Yeah. You weren't?
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like sometimes my friend group is like that, where it's like, some days I'm really into these certain friends, and other days, we just like don't talk as much and don't need to. And that's kind of been how I've moved in and out of friends and in and out of life, like decisions or like improv right now. New improv thing. I am no longer in the improv troupe that I was in last time we were recording podcasts. I've changed. My life has changed, and I've moved into starting something new, a new improv troupe with a few friends that are really fun, and it's going well. I'm actually really interested to see where this goes, because by the time this comes out, it may not exist, or we may be the most popular improv troupe in the world.
It's either or.
Those are two very valid options.
They're the only options.
Yeah. And if we're not the best, then we're not doing this shit. Anyway, so that's kind of an example of that, like moving in and out. Like for a moment, one thing was it, and for now, this moment, this new thing is it.
Yeah.
And I just think that if I'm anywhere for too long, I start to feel like I gotta throw something in there to change it up. I gotta change, which is why buying chicken every day is annoying for me. And then I'll get ground beef, and then I'll get tired of ground. Like I'm just like, I start to feel restless. Restless is really a perfect word for it. And as I'm saying this out loud, I'm starting to realize how like everybody's experienced this. I don't know if I'm saying it as if this is a me thing, like, oh, I'm just this quirky guy who doesn't like eating the same thing every day. I think everybody experiences that in one way or another, but that is certainly the way I do. Someone recently just told me they don't make plans. They just kind of hang out at home by themselves every night. And I was like, what? You're deranged. I don't think I can understand that at all. It feels so foreign to me.
Yeah. I'm very similar. I like to have things going on at least like 3 to 4 nights of the week. Like I want to be doing something. And yeah, I think a lot of it is the house that we were raised in. Like, I love to like play video games by myself in the corner of the basement. Yeah. But there was always stuff going on behind me.
Yeah. There was still commotion.
Yeah. Yep. And like you had your friends, Ellie had her friends, like older siblings had their friends, but also my younger siblings had their friends. So almost always there was a new person in our house too, not only our siblings. Yeah. And that adds a whole dynamic to it, which is fun. And the way we were raised. We're
not complaining about that too, by the way, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
That I loved that. I think very fondly and remember very fondly of those moments where it was like, yeah, there was never a dull moment at that house. It's just such a stark contrast between now you and I both living in a place all by ourselves. I don't know how to make people show up at my house at random like they used to.
Right. Just, in a casual way without it being like, hey, do you want to hang out as adults? Like, what do we do?
Yeah, you have to make it happen.
So I relate to that a lot in that restlessness for sure. But I do kind of look for moments of change too.
I heard from someone that you have a game for us.
I do have a game, Jack, and I'd love to play it with you. Actually,
let's play it. And I'm gonna beat you in the game.
It's actually a team game, so we're gonna have to work together.
We're gonna have to figure out how to make that not the case so that we can bet on it.
We're gonna have to put aside our differences for this moment. All right, so this game is called Rank the Change. So what you and I are going to do is I have 5 different types of change, and we're going to rank them in order of best to worst.
Best?
And so
okay.
Best to worst.
Okay.
And so there's 5, so we can give them a grade. We can do
like
A, B, C, D, or F.
Okay, great.
Some would call it a tier list. I call it rank the change, but we can call it a tier list.
No,
if that works better for you.
You're so right, actually. Rank the change is really good. And whoever came up with that was really smart and funny.
Thank you. All right, so best to worst. That's the criteria.
Okay.
Are you ready for the 5 types of change?
Yeah, let's go.
All
Wait,
right.
are there correct answers to this? And we're trying to find the correct answers?
No, but, our listeners can tell us if we're wrong.
Right. And they should. They absolutely should.
Yeah, and if, we really can't agree on the grade of one of the types of change, we can have our own tier list if that's easier.
Okay.
We can cross that bridge when we get there. All right, so this game is called Rank the Change.
Okay.
The theme of the episode is change, so I thought it was fitting. All right, so the first type of change, climate change. Second type of change, loose change. Third kind of change, Changes, the 2020 album by Justin Bieber. Fourth kind of change, change up, like the pitch in baseball that pitchers throw.
Okay.
The fifth kind of change, the quote by the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, the only constant is change.
Wait, say his name again.
Heraclitus?
Heraclitus.
Heraclitus.
Heraclitus. All right.
Yeah, it could be Heraclitus, but there's no way.
I think I like Heraclitus better.
Same. So that quote is the only constant is change.
Okay.
All right, so we have to rank those all on best to worst, and there's 5 of them.
I think our duty is to put climate change last. I feel like
I agree
that there's nothing worse than climate change.
I agree.
Is there anything that even like rivals climate change on that list?
No, I think our Earth is burning, and the future is bleak, and so I think we should give it an F.
Right.
A grade of F.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now we've got Heraclitus, Loose Change, Change Up, and Justin Bieber's Changes.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear.
Now, keep in mind, the album by Justin Bieber, 2020 album Changes, has the song Yummy, and it has the song Intentions.
Okay. D for sure. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts. To me, it's between Loose Change.
This is on best to worst, just to remind you.
Right. So it's the second worst.
Okay.
I think it's either Loose Change or it's Justin Bieber's Changes, because Justin Bieber's Changes album never gave me shit. But I used to save up. That didn't give me shit. That didn't do it for me. That wasn't it for me.
I loved in the song's Intentions when he shouts out the parents of the girl he's interested. He goes, "Shout out to your mom and dad for making you." I loved that line. I thought that was a pretty badass bar.
That actually rules.
He goes,
that rules.
"Shout out to your mom and dad for making you."
Okay, maybe we'll revisit that. I think that line alone is worth revisiting this album.
I agree.
I really think I love the Heraclitus line. So maybe I put that in A, if we just want to get that out of the way.
Okay.
Because I don't think anything else is beating that, unless you disagree. But read it for me one more time.
The only constant is change.
I mean, did I not say that earlier today?
You did say something
I feel
like
like
that.
you can start calling me Heroclit. You didn't like that. You don't want to call me Heroclit.
No, I think you're the hero of a lot of clits.
I could feel how
I'll call
sickening that made you feel to say that out loud. I could just.
Yeah, I really wanted to find something there.
I could feel the throw up in your voice as you said it. So yeah,
okay,
that number one.
I think I'm good with putting that at A. The argument against it for me is that, someone was gonna say it. The only constant is change.
Right.
He's just a Greek philosopher, and that's when writing came along. Like, I'm sure there were people in 5000 BC going, yeah, the only constant is change. Am I right?
They just didn't write it down.
They didn't have a written language.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm down to put the quote in A, but I'm not going to give the philosopher that much credit.
I can live with that. I think that's a good compromise. Take his name off of it and put the quote there, because the quote fucks. But
the quote goes hard.
Time is
Okay,
the
I agree.
mission.
Let's put that in A. The
All
only
right.
constant is change.
So now we've got
And then climate change at D.
F.
So, sorry, F. It is bad. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's potentially the worst.
Failing grade.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have B, C, and D left. So personally, loose change is kind of a hassle to me. I don't
Okay.
think it's very
fair.
useful. It's a waste of space.
I was just thinking about.
There's very small, use cases.
Remember when you used to be able to buy a Hubba Bubba piece of bubble gum for 5 cents at a baseball
Mm-hmm.
game? I just remember that where we would all go walk around the field trying to find nickels off the ground to buy Hubba Bubba bubble gum. And I remember that fondly. So that was my only thought, was it did give me something. It gave me Hubba Bubba bubble gum. And I appreciate what Loose Change did. Loose Change put in a lot of work, I think, in my early days. And
Yeah.
I think it's fair that it doesn't mean the same now. And maybe I'm looking at it through a lens of nostalgia. But I think as long as it's not F.
If a cashier hands you change, do you not go, ugh? Do you not internally go, ugh?
I think there's a
What am I going to do with this?
12-year-old part of me that's like, I could buy so much Hubba Bubba bubble gum with this.
I immediately just drop it in the tip bucket if it's loose change that they gave me, because I'm just like, what am I going to do with this? I'm not
don't.
going to buy something.
My cup holder is filled to the top with quarters and pennies. And I never use them. I just have them. It just takes up space in my car. Okay,
And
that's a D.
why I hate
That's a
it.
D. That's a D. I convinced myself. That's a D. Put that a D.
Okay, I like that at D too. Thank you for letting me make my case.
Yeah, I think you made a good case.
All right, thank you. And then, all right, so now we have the Changes album by Justin Bieber, or a change up in baseball.
Can I
like
just
the
say,
pitch.
I don't understand how a changeup works.
Well, lucky for you, I'm on this podcast. So a changeup in baseball is one of the most common pitches. So most MLB pitchers are pitching in the 80 to 100 mile an hour zone.
Right.
All right, they're just throwing fucking heaters just as fast as they fucking can. That's what they're throwing. So think fastball, curveball, slider. Those are the most
maxing
common
out at
pitches.
like 105.
Yep, trying to get the batter, off balance.
Right.
So what a changeup is it's kind of the counter to those fast pitches. Most changeups are in the 60 to 50 mile an hour range. And I don't know, I think you and I could get up there. I think you and I could throw up to 40 to 50 miles an hour.
That's
Just
the next.
throwing that
That's
out
the
there. I
next
don't have any
podcast
data.
episode. You and I we have to buy a radar gun and a baseball and go measure how fast we can throw.
Destroy our elbows and shoulders.
Absolutely
But, so-
tear our rotator cuff trying to prove a point.
Have to get the Tommy John surgery that MLB pitchers get.
I just know so little about baseball, but
I go on
luckily
random
you're on this
YouTube.
podcast.
Yeah, I go on random YouTube rabbit holes with baseball. So a changeup, it's a slow pitch, and the pitcher puts no spin on it, so it kind of wobbles in the air, and it's going really slowly. So the whole idea is that it's only a good pitch because batters are expecting the fast pitch. So a changeup on its own isn't good, but it is good because of its relationship to the other pitches. So when batters are expecting the really fast pitch, they're on their toes, they're gonna swing right away. But with the changeup, you throw it slowly, and so the batters often swing too early or are off balance when they're trying to swing. So I think there's a beautiful side of sports that a changeup kind of represents, and it's the idea that as sports move toward this optimization, and that's kind of what fast pitches are, is let's just throw it as fast as we fucking can to make the batter, just the human brain can't react in time. That's kind of the direction that baseball is moving. But a changeup is, as the meta of the sport moves toward let's throw them as fast as we can, now doing anything other than that becomes that much more valuable because batters are expecting it less. So yeah, I just love the idea and philosophy behind a changeup in baseball. So there you go.
George, I'm glad you're on this podcast. Because I was going to put changeup at D because I felt like it was the fourth worst pitch you could throw in baseball.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's B. That feels like B material.
Ooh. All right. Because the other, because the argument against it would be it's not very common. Like, there's only a handful of pitchers that actually throw changeups.
Really?
Because, yeah, you kind of have to master it, and it kind of has to be, like, your pitch. It's hard to, like, have it just in your arsenal, from what I've heard.
No, that still feels cool. That's a cool aspect to the game. That's like we're breaking people's expectation of the game to beat them at it. It's like so you're like the sports guy. I'll be the improv guy. It's in improv. Great. There are a lot of like rules there are a lot of rules to get you good at improv. But what really makes you good at improv or like funny is when you know enough of the rules to know how to break them. So then you kind of set up the audience's expectation by setting it up in this way. But then when you break the rules, the audience finds it funny because they're not expecting it. So it's the same thing where it's like there is this expectation in baseball, but if you know how to set the expectation, throw it 100 miles an hour, then you can break it by throwing it 60 and catch everybody off guard. I think I like that. That's interesting. I like B. I like B for that. I think I was ready to put Justin's changes at D, so I think C. He's moving up for that. But you did. I mean, you did tell me about the line about thank you to your shout out to your mom and dad for making you, which is undeniably a goated line. So
it's a goated line,
right?
And I mean, its impact on society. I feel like people weren't saying the word yummy very often before Justin Bieber.
I think that's a song. Net negative for society that people are saying yummy more often. Net negative. I think that is actively hurting society.
Tomato. I think it was a benefit to society. I think vocabulary was meant to expand, and I think that's beautiful.
And yummy is the expansion we needed.
We needed that. And then intentions, it's another good one, and those are the only two.
I feel like, there are only two songs that you know. You're only saying these two songs over and over, which to me does not make a great album.
A song called Changes, but I didn't know that song, so I think C is fair. Okay, so I'm just going to recap them for you, and you tell me if you have any last-minute changes.
Great.
Changes, wink, wink. All right, A, the only constant is change by Greek philosopher Heraclitus. B, change up, the pitch in baseball. C, Changes, the 2020 album by Justin Bieber. D, loose change. F, climate change. Boo. Womp womp.
Yeah. I think we nailed it on the head. I think if anyone in our audience thinks we're wrong, then they're wrong. And I defy them. Also, something else that I want to encourage our audience to do, make your own set of changes list. Give us your top 5 or A, B, C, D, F of different types of changes. See what we can do in the comments. We're releasing this on YouTube. Also, we might release some of this on Instagram. Let us know. Give us a top 5. Give us your top 5 changes.
Best or worst.
George, thanks for bringing this. I think this has been a delightful game to play.
You're very welcome. Thanks for playing it with me.
All right. As we go ahead and close up today's episode, George, what do you think? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? Do you feel changed? Do you feel different?
I'm feeling good. I feel really loose. You needed some time to get back into the flow of podcasting.
This is our first time doing it in over a year.
It's been a year. And I do feel like I've changed a lot in the last year. I feel like I've grown a lot. And the last year's been a lot of fun. Living in Portland has been a blast. My girlfriend's incredible. I'm loving it here. But there's a lot of, moving is hard, and I miss people, and I miss my brother Jack. So this has been really fun I'm just glad we're doing this again. I'm excited to keep hanging out with you and doing this.
Yeah, so I'm glad to get it
That's kind of where I'm at.
Good. I'm glad you're there. I love that for you. I'm excited to keep doing this. Yeah, we've got, we're looking at like 10-ish, 12-ish episodes. If anybody listening has an idea for an episode they'd like to talk to us about, or they'd like to hear us talk about, we'd love to do that. We'd love to do that episode. Something else, because it's hard and because you're in Portland and I'm here, we're not going to be doing many, if any, in-person episodes, which means we're probably not going to have any guests, because that would be very difficult to do. And I don't know how to do that.
And
So
all our guests suck.
And yeah, we hated our guests. Actually, no, our best episodes were guest episodes. But we're just trying it our own this time. So it's probably just going to be us two. But yeah, seriously, if you have thoughts, or if you want to, join the conversation, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube. But we're just happy to be doing this. And honestly, it really does feel like we're doing this so that we can hang out more. Because it's fun to hang out. But if anyone is listening, then you're a real one. You're a real one.
You are a real one.
You're a real hero, Clitus. A real hero, Clitus.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think on that note, George, sign us off.
Signing off, Jack and George, Season 2, Episode 1, That Which Binds Us. See you all later. Bye.
Bye. Love you.